Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, listen, what a great day. Listen, I appreciate you as always. I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you being a part of this morning empowerment that we're so excited about each and every day. And when I am not on, you would surely reach out to me to check on me. Those of you that do that, I really appreciate it. Good morning, Keith, and I really appreciate that. So, hey, this is a great day. This is a great day as always. I pray that you've gotten up this morning, you've gotten in the face of God, you have saturated your day in His presence. Yes, that you've saturated your day in His presence, and that you're ready for your day. That you are ready for your day. And so, it is always important to me, Amen, that you are definitely ensuring that you're in the face of God before you get in anybody else's face. And so it is important. So I thank you for your commitment. I thank you for your consistency. I thank you for everything that you do to ensure that you are empowered to be everything that God has declared over your life. And so it is always a pleasure for me to be here with you. Always a pleasure to be able to share with you what I believe the Lord is saying in this time. And so I want to kind of round out this week about um, uh, knowing you belong, knowing where you belong, and I want to kind of round out this week with that. That's the thought of the week, and talking about where you belong. One of the things that I believe that we have to do is we have to renew our minds because in our lifetime, people have placed so many negative labels on us. And so we have to make sure that in renewing our mind, one of the things that I talk about in renewing your mind is you have to make sure that you recognize that your current thinking, number one, in transformation of your life, you have to recognize that the current are not sufficient enough to get you to your destiny. And sometimes those negative thoughts in your mind are because people have placed negative labels on you. People have placed negative labels on you. And so when people place negative labels on a person, it makes a person feel like they don't belong. It makes a person feel like what they have is all they'll ever have. And so it is important. It is important that we understand that there's a renewal process that must take place in our lives to remove any negative labels that give us any indication that we don't belong where God tells us. And so it is very, very, very important for us to understand that. Now, what I want to do really quick is I want to take you to Ephesians chapter 4 really quick this morning. I'm coming in hot this morning because I got some stuff I got to get done. So we're coming in hot this morning, and so I'm going to try to get this done. And what I don't finish today, I'll definitely get to tomorrow. Uh, Ephesians 4:23 is where I'm going. Ephesians 4:23. I want to look at something there really quick. Ephesians 4:23, and it says, and be constantly renewed in the spirit of your mind, having a fresh mental and spiritual attitude. This is daily. And put on the new nature, the regenerate self, created in God's image, godlike in true righteousness and holiness. This is daily. I'm talking about this is a daily process. Watch this. Therefore, rejecting all falsity and being done now with it, let everyone express the truth with his neighbor, for we are all part of one body and one member one of another. So when angry, do not sin. Do not ever let wrath or exasperation, your fury or indignation last until the sun goes down. Leave no such room or foothold for the devil. Give no opportunity to him. Let the thief steal no more, but rather let him be industrious, making an honest living with his own hands, so that he may be able to give to those in need. Let no foul or polluting language, no evil word, nor unwholesome or unworthy or worthless talking ever come out of your mouth, but only such speech as it is good and beneficial for the spiritual progress of others, as fitting to the need and to the occasion, that it may be a blessing and give grace, God's favor to those who hear. Now watch this. Here's the whole purpose. The whole purpose is we have to make sure, number one, we watch what we say. Number two, we have to be very careful that we understand that the constant renewing of our minds is a daily thing. So when he talks here, when Paul is talking to the church of Ephesus, he said, "Be constantly renewed in the spirit of your mind." That is a daily process. Having a fresh mental and spiritual attitude. That is a daily process. Because if you don't learn to do this, then you will allow things to fester. And when people say stuff to you, especially when they say stuff to you that God didn't say to you or about you, if you don't constantly renew your mind, you'll wind up wearing what other people say. Please hear me. Please hear what I'm telling you, because if we really looked over our lives, there has been that one thing, that one label that people have placed on us. Hear what I'm telling you. If we look back over our lives, there has always been that one that has labeled us. Somebody done told you that you weren't going to amount to nothing. Somebody done told you you weren't going to be nothing. They told you that you were never going to make it. They told you that you're not going to be anything in life. Come on. Somebody have heard that before. Somebody in here have heard somebody say that to somebody else, or it has been said to you. Now watch this. Let me talk about a few people that was said to. Watch this, Mother Pat. There's a few people that we all know that it was said to. So, for instance, Walt Disney. As a teenager, Walt Disney was told by an editor that he was not creative enough. Walt Disney. He was told that he didn't have a good enough imagination. Mr. Walt Disney. Lucille Ball was told that she did not have any acting skills, that she needed to choose another profession. Yeah, Lucille Ball. Y'all know Lucille. And then watch this. And then Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill, very interesting. Winston Churchill was not thought of as a very good student, and because of that, he failed the entrance exam to get into the Royal Army 2 times. And so he was pretty much told that he needed to do something different. Now, the common denominator, I want y'all to hear me, because this right here set somebody free. The common denominator in these 3 people that I just mentioned, the common denominator in their success is they never accepted the negative labels that was placed on them. The common denominator in their success in life was that they never accepted the labels that was placed on them. Please hear me. They thought of themselves better than what other people thought of them. They lived far better. Hear this. They lived far better than the labels and the narratives that was placed over their lives. They lived far better than the narrative of the people who said they weren't going to amount to nothing. They lived a far better life. Why? Because they thought better of themselves than what people were saying. So you have to think better of yourself. You remember we talked about loving yourself. We talked about first loving God, loving yourself, so that then you're qualified to love other people. So you have to first love God, accept the love of God, love God with all of your heart, soul, and mind, and then love thyself. Because if you don't love yourself, then you'll accept the negative labels, you'll accept the narrative of what other people are saying about you. You will accept that. Please hear me. They did not allow these people, Walt Disney, Lucille Ball, Winston Churchill, they did not allow the editor to edit their book in spite, hear me, in spite of the perceived odds that was completely against them. There was odds stacked against them. But they did not buy into the label that the editor was trying to place upon them. They did not buy into the negative label. They thought highly of themselves. They thought more of themselves than what other people thought. Somebody going to talk to me in a minute, Keith. It's the same thing happening now. It has never stopped. The same thing is happening now. People are always constantly putting labels, negative labels, telling us what we can and cannot become, telling us what we can and cannot do. That's a challenge for me. That's a challenge when somebody tells me that I can't do something. Because you and I were created, innately, we were created that pressure, watch this, Pressure makes us produce. Pressure makes us multiply. Hear me? Y'all still here? But you got to understand that the label, the negative label that people are placing on you, does not agree with what God says about you. But if you don't know what God says about you, you'll wind up wearing what people say. Because if you don't know any better, you will wear those negative labels like they're the truth. Please hear me. What the negative labels that people say about you does not line up with what God says. That's why it's imperative for you to understand what God has said about you, what God is saying about you, what He's already released over your life, the things that you're supposed to do. When He released you from eternity into time, there are some things that God has placed over your life for you to do and for you to accomplish. Please hear me. That's why we have to be constantly in prayer. That's why we have to be constantly in prayer. Please hear me. Because if you don't understand what God said about you, you will wear those negative labels on your life like they are the truth. And that's why you don't think you belong in certain places and spaces, because you've accepted and you are wearing what people said about you. And then we say, well, I guess they were right. Are y'all still here? The sad part is that if we keep these labels long enough, they'll become so ingrained in our thinking that we will actually become what people have said rather than what God has said over our lives when He released us. Y'all hear me? So it is imperative that we are not accepting these negative labels and wearing them like they're the truth when they're not the truth. You just need to know what God is saying about you, because, listen, the reason why you are where you are, most people, is because you're wearing a lie. You're wearing something that God never told you to wear. You are wearing a label that God never placed on you. That's why the Bible tells us in the book of Hebrews chapter 12 that Jesus is the author and finisher of our faith. We have to stop letting other people edit our book. Are y'all hearing me? Now, I'm going to tell you another story that I told you before about this guy. This guy was told by his high school counselor. He was told by his high school counselor that he was not that talented. He was told that he wasn't a very talented person and that he should focus on the lowest skilled job. He should focus on the lowest skilled job. Hear this. And the counselor stuck this label on this man. That he wasn't going to amount to nothing, that he wasn't talented, that he need to stick to the lowest skilled job. And this man stuck this label on this guy, and this guy wore this label for years. Y'all know the guy, and he wound up getting a factory job. And he stayed there for years operating in the lowest skilled job because a counselor at school told him that he was not talented enough, that he needed to operate in the lowest skilled jobs. That was so ingrained in him that when he graduated high school, he went and got a low skilled job. The factory closed down. I told you the factory closed down and he had to find another job. So part of him getting this new job, he had to wind up taking an IQ test. Right? So he took the test. When he took the test, watch this, Keith. When he took the test, the IQ test, the guy was assessed as a genius. But he was told by the high school counselor that he wasn't talented enough, that he needed to get the lowest skilled job. And for 17 years of this man's life, this man lived according to the label. He wore the label. It was ingrained in him. And he wore that label for 17 years. 17 years of his life, he lived a lie. 17 years of his life, he lived what somebody else said because he accepted it. How many of you all are living what somebody else said about you? Then the guy took the test to get to another job after the job closed. After 17 years, the job factory closed. He went to another factory. Hear me. He went to another factory, took the IQ test, and was assessed as a genius. The owner had to call this dude in and ask him, "What are you doing applying for a job in this factory?" Now watch this. Here's the part that I didn't tell you the other day. In the 63-year history of the factory where he had to take the IQ test, this guy had the highest score. Nobody scored that high in the 63-year history of this particular factory. The day that he took that IQ test, the stronghold and the labels that was placed over that man broke off his life. He knew the day that he took that test, and when that guy called him in and told him that he was assessed as a genius, the label and the stronghold that he had been living with for 17 years broke off his life. He finally heard on this day what God really said about him. He finally heard on this day what God had created him to do, and he became an inventor, and many of his inventions are patented today. We got to stop accepting the negative labels that people are putting on us and allowing it to be so ingrained that we're wearing it like it's the truth. Because now that's the reason why you think you belong where you belong, that you can't have anything differently. This guy realized for 17 years of his life he was in a place where he didn't belong. What label have people placed on you that you're now realizing has held you back? So I'm telling you now, today, as we get ready to get off, I'm declaring over your life today that you're rising to the next level of who God created you to be. You're rising to the place where you really belong, and all the negative labels that people have placed over your life are being broken. I'm declaring that over your life right now. So if God didn't say it, hit the delete button. If God didn't say it, hit the delete button. Hear me. If you're going to go to the next level, you got to destroy the labels that people have placed over your life. It's time to hit the delete button. People told you can't do this and do that. You say, no. The Bible says, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Yeah, absolutely. When people tell you things are impossible, yeah, things are impossible with man, but there's nothing impossible for God. Yeah. But see, if you don't know that, you're going to accept what they say. You got to say this today. Say this: I will not be held back. I will not be held back another day in my life over what people say. I need you to get that ingrained in your life. I will never be held back another day over what people say. If it don't sound like God, you got to hit the delete button. Are y'all hearing me today? You have to remember, to live better, you have to think better. In order for you to live better, you got to think better. If you want to live better, you got to think better. You got to recognize that there have been some labels that people placed on you that you accepted. You accepted the package. And when you accepted the package, hear me, you then begin to live according to what was in the package. Words matter. I said this last night in our Bible study. Words matter. In the beginning was the Word. Words matter. The worlds were framed by the Word of God. Words matter. You got to be careful about the words you accept. Because whatever word you accept, remember, words carry packages. Watch what you unpackage, because it's going to become a part of your life. Listen, I love all of you with the love of Jesus Christ. Remember, let's remove the negative labels people have placed on us. Let's remove it. Let's remove it. Listen, you have to believe higher about yourself. You got to believe better about yourself in spite of the negative reports, in spite of the narrative that people are trying to put on you. You have to think better about you. You have to think better about yourself. If God did not say it, you got to hit the delete button. If God did not say it, you got to hit the delete button. Be careful what you say. God bless all of you. Hey, I love you with the love of Jesus Christ. Until tomorrow morning, we'll finish this out. But until tomorrow morning, God bless all of you. Remember, tomorrow, I'm going to make the announcement on the day that we're going to have our empowerment session right here in Columbia before this year's out. And so, hey, uh, uh, stay tuned. More information coming. I love all of you with the love of Jesus Christ. Let's continue to move and be and do what God has declared over our lives. Let's remove these negative labels and let's move into the place that we really belong. God bless you. Make this day.